Okay, this isn't something I'd normally use YouTube to complain about, but you know that like kind of state of depression you just feel about a week after you come back from holiday, particularly when you live somewhere disgusting such as London, for example. Well, that's what I've been experiencing, and it's been made worse by the fact that I know I'm going to university in September, and I just can't think of anything I'm less looking forward to. Oh, and if you're not from the UK, which I know a lot of my audience aren't, you're more than welcome to stay because I'm going to explain exactly why I'm mad at the British systems, I guess. And I don't think I'm really alone. I mean, most people in the UK are mad at something to do with post-18 education these days. Now, if you saw a video a while ago I made, I think it was called What? In this video, I spoke about university briefly, and I basically said I didn't really want to go to uni, but I'm going anyway because I don't want to be homeless, even though I'm still going to be poor and unemployed, probably. I never really wanted to go to uni. There was a point at which, for like a couple of months, I was like, oh yeah, I can't wait, I'm so excited. But that only lasted 2 months, like I said, and after that I resorted back to not wanting to go. And I remembered why I didn't want to go. Because unfortunately, degrees are not rare, and everyone and their grandma has a degree in something. If you think about like diamonds or something, the main reason why they're so valuable is because they're rare. All these crazy materials you can think of, sapphire, platinum, gold, antimatter, all these things are expensive and valuable, and most importantly, they are rare. What certainly is not rare are people with degrees. What an employer is definitely not going to do is choose someone with a 4-year degree over someone who has 4 years of work experience in a relevant job. I think there might be an exception in some subjects like medicine or something, because in that case you're all training to do the same thing. I don't know, again, don't quote me on that, but unfortunately not all of us are doing medicine, and I have my own struggle. I don't remember who I had this conversation with, but they were telling me about that they found a degree that was like a Bachelor of Science in hotel management. Now imagine you could get a PhD in that subject, hotel management. That's 8 years of studying hotel management. Is the employer going to choose someone who's been managing a hotel for 8 years, or someone who's been studying how to manage a hotel for 8 years? Exactly. Well, it's exactly the same. It doesn't change anything. Even in my case, are they going to choose someone who's been a cybersecurity officer for 8 years, or are they going to choose someone who's been studying it for 8 years? The point I'm making, like, it's very rare that somebody gets a job relevant to computer science without a degree at 18. But the point I'm making is that experience is infinitely more valuable than a degree. Because nobody cares. It doesn't really matter if you go to Oxford, really. You being fresh out of uni, competing against someone with a bunch of experience, the choice for them, they don't even have to think about it. It's obvious, they're going to pick the guy with more experience. And by the way, I say this as someone who applied to a top 10 uni, and also someone who got offers from Russell Group unis, which if you're from America, I guess it's kind of like Ivy League. They're just research dedicated, I guess. But anyway, this is something personal to me now. I'm not studying at the university I wanted to study originally at anymore. And it's not so much to do with my grades, it's to do with the fact that I just can't afford it because it's too far away. The distance isn't the problem. The problem is that apparently Student Finance England, which are basically the money provider for students, I guess loan provider for students, I don't know how else to put it, think that my parents make too much money for me to get a good maintenance loan. Because yes, I got one, but it barely covers half of the accommodation cost. Oh, but why don't you just get a job? You think I'm gonna get a job in a small ass place with barely a year of experience working at a fast food restaurant? I'll spend the first 3 months trying to get one and getting rejected and rejected and rejected. And by that time, I will have starved. How the hell am I supposed to buy food for myself if all my maintenance loan is being sucked out by the accommodation costs? Even if I do have a job, I'll be surprised if I don't starve. Now, obviously, I understand the idea that people whose parents have less income get more money, because it makes sense, like it doesn't need to be fixed. But considering how expensive accommodation does cost in basically most unis across the UK, the amount they give to people from parents with high income households is ridiculous, because high income, in this economy, I don't know what high income is. You can be making 60k a year and still have money left over. And another thing they really stupidly don't consider that they probably should is, does this person have siblings? Does this person's parents have to provide for 3 or 4 or 5 more children? Meaning that and do they have someone else in university? Do they have another child at university? I have no idea how they don't think to consider that still. Now, the other thing that's really stupid about this whole university situation is the grades you actually need to get into university, or more specifically the grade boundaries. These aren't so easily explained, but I understand that they're calculated after the exams are taken by the exam boards that offer the course specifications. So like I said, they figure out these grade boundaries after the exams have been taken, and like analysing the general scores and results of people who sat the exams. Meaning the exam boards need not worry about taking any accountability for how difficult they made the paper, they can just up the grade boundaries every year and affect a bunch of people's lives. Here are the maths grade boundaries for reference, because a lot of people were complaining about this. The numbers are the minimum amount of marks needed to get said grade. Now, if I might be mistaken a little bit, but in 2022 they said we're going to return to pre-pandemic marking, which they did. Like, if you look at 2019 and 2022, you can see that the grade boundaries are basically the same or very similar. So yeah, and then in 2023 they said, oh yeah, we're going to continue with pre-pandemic grade boundaries. Obviously, these are not pre-pandemic grade boundaries. And then they made it even higher this year. Like, it's got to a point where I just think universities are being so lenient now, because AQA and their buddies have just got way too confident with their high grade boundaries that unis don't even care anymore. Then again, it depends on what unis you applied to and who you know, because I know a bunch of people who have just gotten into their firm choice and missed the offer by a ridiculous amount and just gotten in anyways, because the unis understand that the grade boundaries are getting ridiculous and nobody can get A stars anymore. There are unis out there doing, not particularly good unis, but there are unis out there doing clearing for people with like D's and E's. And you don't even need to do a foundation year. By the way, don't, by the way. But yeah, unfortunately AQA, and all your buddies too, EdXL and EduCas and OCR, all of you guys, the grades you're giving us don't matter anymore because you're just getting too ridiculous with it. A few years ago, I think it was a bit more unheard of to get into your firm choice if you missed the offer by like a large amount. I mean, one grade was never a big deal. I mean, if a university offers you A, and you get A, B, it's really unlikely that they'll just decline you. But I know someone in a Russell group with a D this year, so. But yeah, I really don't think these grades carried the same significance that they did a couple of years ago, or at least this year specifically. Because not to mention, almost every uni in the country this year, with a few exceptions obviously, are doing clearing, which is just really uncommon. Why? Well, because they know that nobody's going to get the grades they want because the boundaries are through the roof. 251 marks out of 300 for an A star for arguably the hardest A-level subject. I know further maths exists, but that's just a whole other category. And it also just means that people who worked their asses off to try and meet the offer, like let's say A, B, B or something, but now that same uni that they worked their ass off to try and get into is just accepting any random person with irrelevant qualifications because nobody got the grades they wanted. And everyone wants to go to uni, so there's got to be a place somewhere. And all of this, I'll probably still be living with my parents age 30. It doesn't matter if I do like a master's or a PhD. Well, in a perfect world, I wouldn't like to be working for the rest of my life. But I'm just saying, you know, I'm going down the normie route of going to university and getting a job because it's what everyone does. And I just, if I'm going anyway, I might as well do a subject I enjoy that just so happens to pay kind of well. But it's a safety net for me, really. But it's just in case I try 5 different business ideas, not cryptocurrency or what's the other thing? Drop shipping. I'm not one of those people, I promise. But just say all 5 of those businesses fail. At least getting a job is still a possibility. I just don't know how great a possibility, but it's a possibility nonetheless. I have no idea what I want to do right now. I'm in clearing. Everything's too expensive, and unfortunately student finance England, just because my parents make more money than your supposed threshold, doesn't mean they can afford every single uni expense of mine. So I can't go anywhere. I'm hoping I'll find some uni with a cheap accommodation, but anyways, thank you for listening to my rant. I'm gonna go now, but there will be new videos to come very soon because I'm finally back from holiday. And by the way, I brought a laptop on holiday, and it's not the laptop that was the problem, it was the mic. It was awful. But anyway, if you're new, subscribe please. And yeah, I'll see you in another video. Goodbye.